Until now, the prevailing Newtonian mechanistic worldview has dominated Western culture, science, and metaphysics for hundreds of years. The idea that we live in an unintelligently designed universe, the idea that out of nowhere, nothing, for no reason spontaneously became everything, has been accepted as scientific gospel. This atheistic, nihilistic, purely materialistic paradigm presented by believers of Big Bang evolution, however, cannot explain the multitude of non-physical, non-local findings in quantum mechanics. They cannot explain how consciousness, intelligence, and life supposedly evolved from unconscious, unintelligent, dead matter. They cannot explain why apple seeds grow apple trees and pear seeds grow pear trees, or how arm cells know to be arms and leg cells know to be legs. They cannot explain the holographic universe or morphogenic fields, the placebo effect, psychoneuroimmunology, acupuncture, the aura, chi prana, or remote healing, telepathy, psychokinesis, clairvoyance, precognition, and the entirety of seaside science. They cannot explain out-of-body or near-death experiences, ghosts, entheogens, the soul, the spirit world, or reincarnation. Although the true nature of the universe has been known and taught throughout the ages by many and varied sources throughout the world, all of which are highly consistent and in broad agreement, it is also now being substantiated by the work of modern quantum physics, and increasingly by other branches of the sciences as well. All areas of the sciences will surely soon have to accept the fact that true universal reality is not and never can be based entirely in the familiar three-dimensional world of physical matter as has been assumed since the days of Isaac Newton, but is rather an infinite multidimensional reality, a universe of living consciousness of which everyone and everything without exception is an integral and equal aspect. So, if there is an intelligent designer, a creative force beyond all space, time, and matter, what are the properties of this entity? Theologists and metaphysicians throughout history have agreed that this intelligent creative force must by definition be all-knowing, omniscient, all-powerful, omnipotent, and all-present, omnipresent. Furthermore, by definition, if God, an omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent being exists, then we all must be a part of it. Here's a parable, an analogy, which comes from India, from the Upanishads, and is thousands of years old. It presents a parabolic answer to the root question of all religion and philosophy. Who am I and what is this? And it does so in a way which everyone can relate to. In the beginning of the world, and though it probably had no ultimate beginning as we think of them, you have to start somewhere. There was only Brahma. He thought, what would it be like to forget who I really am? So he invented the game of cosmic hide and seek. According to the rules of this game, Brahma would pretend to break pieces of himself off from the whole, so that to all appearances they would seem separate. That's the hide part. The one golden rule and driving force of God's universal hide and seek game is called karma, or cause and effect. What goes around comes around. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, because fundamentally there is no you or others. There is only God, the one true self. Your physical body, your name, your entire human identity, and the feeling of being an individual entity separated from the totality is a secondary and ultimately illusory experience of the one true being. In the Eastern view then, the division of nature into separate objects is not fundamental, and any such objects have a fluid and ever-changing character. The Eastern worldview is therefore intrinsically dynamic and contains time and change as essential features. The cosmos is seen as one inseparable reality, forever in motion, alive, organic, spiritual and material at the same time. Since motion and change are essential properties of things, The forces causing the motion are not outside the objects, as in the classical Greek view, but are an intrinsic property of matter. Another way to understand this concept is through dreams. In dreams, you create entire worlds, environments, situations, and even other people. You interact and converse, create conflict and resolutions, get emotional and involved, but suddenly, when you wake up from the dream, you realize that all those environments, situations, and other people were really all you. They only seemed like separate individuals because of the level of consciousness you were operating on at the time. To many, the statement, "I am God," rings of blasphemy. God, according to conventional religion, is the supreme deity, the almighty, eternal, omniscient creator. How can any lowly human being claim that he or she is God? Yet when mystics say, "I am God," or words to that effect, they are not talking of an individual person. There is a Hindu myth that human consciousness began as a ripple that decided to leave the ocean of consciousness as such, timeless, spaceless, infinite, and eternal. Awakening to itself, it forgot that it was a part of this infinite ocean and felt isolated and separated. Adam and Eve's expulsion from the Garden of Eden may also be a version of this myth, an ancient memory of how human consciousness, somewhere in its unfathomable past, left its home in the implicate and forgot that it was a part of the cosmic wholeness of all things. The basic recurring theme in Hindu mythology is the creation of the world by the self-sacrifice of God. Sacrifice in the original sense of making sacred, whereby God becomes the world, which in the end becomes again God. This creative activity of the divine is called Ma, the play of God, and the world is seen as the stage of the divine play. As long as we confuse the myriad forms of the divine with reality, without perceiving the unity of Brahman underlying all these forms, we are under the spell of Maya. Maya, therefore, does not mean that the world is an illusion, as is often wrongly stated. The illusion merely lies in our point of view. If we think that the shapes and structures, things and events around us are realities of nature, instead of realizing that they are concepts of our measuring and categorizing minds. In the Vedanta, our individual souls, our separate subjective packets of I am consciousness, are called Atman, and the one unified objective infinite wellspring of consciousness from which everyone's Atman arises is Brahman. Atman is our divided, dualistic self, and Brahman is our whole true self. But fundamentally, it is taught that Atman is Brahman and Brahman is Atman. Your true self beyond this earthly identity is not divided and dualistic. Your true self is not separate and subjective. Your true self is not Jack, Jill, Joe, Jen, Jim, John, James, or Jason. Your true self is the same as my true self, as everyone's true self is God. Finally, quantum physicists like David Bohm and consciousness researchers like Peter Russell have now proven what the world's most ancient spiritual teachings have long espoused for thousands of years. The faculty of consciousness is primary to the creation of the material world. A conscious observer must first exist to collapse the wave function, allowing particles to manifest into the explicate reality. The basic elements of the worldview which has been developed in all these traditions are the same. These elements also seem to be the fundamental features of the worldview emerging from modern physics. The most important characteristic of the Eastern worldview, one could almost say the essence of it, is the awareness of the unity and mutual interrelation of all things and events, the experience of all phenomena in the world as manifestations of a basic oneness. All things are seen as interdependent and inseparable parts of this cosmic whole, as different manifestations of the same ultimate reality.